Colorado head coach Deion Sanders has become so popular, he's drawing comparisons to two of the biggest music stars in all of music history. And I'm going to talk about why on today's episode of Locked On Buffs.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? This is Locked On Buffs, your favorite podcast about the Colorado Buffaloes. I'm your host, Kevin Bohr. But today's episode, we're going to be talking about a few different things. We're going to be talking about Deion Sanders being compared to Taylor Swift, Beyoncé, and why he's viewed as a superstar in college football. Coach Prime has that effect on just about everybody, and so we're going to talk about that. Shedeur Sanders talks about how he addresses the pressure and how it doesn't faze him. And then we're going to talk about some Pac-12 expansion rumors that I heard about over the past weekend that I want you guys to know about, just so you guys know what's going on with Pac-12 expansion. But before we do, I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Buffs your first listen every single day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. That's your team every single day. Okay, let's dive right in. I think we all know that Coach Prime's impact on Colorado has been tremendous. I don't know if we could have imagined how big it was. I think it maybe goes a little understated sometimes, and even that feels shocking because we talk about him every single day. But the impact he brings to this program is out of this world. He has essentially revived the University of Colorado. Whether Colorado fans new or old would admit it, this program was not relevant. This program had fallen out of relevancy. They had one good year in the past decade or so, and they were just kind of viewed as it's whatever. It's Colorado. They weren't really viewed as anything special. They weren't viewed as anything at all, really. They were kind of an afterthought. And what's worse than being viewed as a bad team or a bad program is being irrelevant. Because irrelevancy gets you nowhere, makes your job harder. Outside of the one Mel Tucker year, which showed some promise, and then the Alamo Bowl year, there wasn't a lot of positivity out here for Colorado fans to be excited about. And so I think by hiring Coach Prime, it was a home run swing. First of all, when I first saw the reports that Colorado was going after Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, I was like, okay, let's get a little real here. I thought maybe TCU was going to get him eventually. Obviously, they went with Sonny Dykes the year before. I figured, Cincinnati's in the mix. USF was open. I figured a Florida school would probably go after him, and maybe I don't know who else was hiring at the time. I kind of think Cincinnati. I think USF was another school, and so yeah, I just wasn't expecting it. And so now that he's in Boulder, it's probably the best thing that's happened to Boulder within the last 30 years, I would say. Colorado, outside of the championship, obviously, Colorado has just been on a whole new level, and so much so that Pac-12 commissioner George Kliavkoff, told the USA Today that he's similar to Beyoncé and Taylor Swift. In an interview, he said, "I think if Beyoncé or Taylor Swift decided to coach, they might glean the kind of media coverage that we're getting from Deion." He continued saying, "Our ratings are going to be up this year because of Coach Prime. He's great for the league. He's great for Colorado. You could see where the team was last year to where they are this year." And I think obviously that's not a weird comparison, but it's an interesting comparison. All the Swifties and Queen Bee or the Beehive people that are tuning into this episode, I apologize that this isn't about a podcast about them, but I appreciate that you're here. And if you want to learn something about Coach Prime, just know former football, baseball star, one of the best athletes of all time. He is now a coach at Colorado, and he is now drawing comparisons to your favorite artists. So that's pretty cool. If you don't know about them, Taylor Swift and Beyoncé are probably, I would say, of my lifetime, because I don't like comparing them to, I would say Michael Jackson was probably the most iconic music superstar, and then I would say Elvis, maybe. I don't know. I'm going back to the olden times where I wasn't alive. I don't really know. I feel like Michael Jackson and Elvis were two people that stand out. But Taylor Swift and Beyoncé are kind of this generation's that. Taylor Swift has literally, I know she's sold out every single place where she's going. I saw something that her tour is so profitable that it's going to boost the U.S. economy. Don't know if that's true or not, but that's pretty cool. So for Coach Prime to be compared to them is quite the comparison, because realistically, they're two of the biggest stars in the world. And Coach Prime, while I don't think he's as big as them, in the college football world, he is. He's attracted top transfers, top recruits. He's attracted Lil Wayne. He's attracted Rick Ross. Like, people are interested in what he's doing in Colorado, and I think it's really cool. It's good for the program. It's good for him because it's going to help him down the road. But yeah, when I saw this, I was like, oh wow, that's quite the comparison. But it's true. He's bringing eyes onto the program. He's bringing eyes onto the Pac-12, which is beneficial for a conference who is set to lose USC, which is their biggest brand at the moment in the conference, and UCLA for basketball. They're a solid brand as well. They're a big brand as well, but losing USC and UCLA to the Big Ten kind of hurts the Pac-12. But having someone make the conference as relevant as Coach Prime does is also extremely beneficial. And hey, the biggest thing about Taylor Swift recently is I think it's her Eras tour, sold out. I think it's Ticketmaster or whatever, like instantly broke, like right away. It's sold out in seconds. Coach Prime sold out the Stanford and Nebraska games, which is pretty cool. That's come, I believe I read and wrote, I want to make sure I can remember this right, that Colorado sold out those 2 home games earlier than they've sold out any home games since 2019, which the game that they sold out that early in 2019 was the Nebraska game as well. So Coach Prime has brought energy, he's brought passion, and he's brought new fans. I think there's a lot of people who are following Colorado now just because he's there, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think there's just so much excitement around this program, so much excitement around what Coach Prime brings to the table, that he really is a superstar. He's a superstar at the college level. I don't think there's a single coach in college football that has the cachet that he does. I think there's coaches like Nick Saban, Kirby Smart, maybe Urban Meyer when he's coaching, that have kind of the notoriety in college football, but not this kind of energy. I don't think Nick Saban's channeling up this kind of energy. Same thing with the other two. This is unheard of. And it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. Obviously, college football, I think, is nearly 40-ish, 45-ish days away. So everybody buckle up. The season is almost upon us, the best time of the year. So yeah, very excited to see where it leads and where it goes. Without further ado, it's going to be I don't know why I said without further ado, without this offseason chatter and stuff. I think Coach Prime is going to be just really the biggest story of college football season, regardless of what happens. It's either going to be a smashing success, or it's going to be interesting to see how the team bounces back from adversity. But that's why we love Coach Prime. That's why we love what he's done to the program. What we also love is our sponsor, eBay Motors. For a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors with eBay Guaranteed Fit. You could be sure every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check to know the part will fit, or your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game. And when you shop on eBay Motors, and with over 122 million people, a million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right price on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions may apply. Okay, let's dive right back in. We just talked about why Coach Prime is drawing comps to Taylor Swift and Beyoncé, 2 of the most iconic musical people in the world right now. I feel like that's a fair comparison. I don't think there's anybody in college football right now that really generates as much buzz as he does. So he's up there. But his own son was at Pac-12 Media Day. Coach Prime was not, because he had surgery, which, according to his girlfriend, went well again. So claps, snaps, claps for Coach Prime and his surgery, snaps for the surgeons and everybody that was performing. Hopefully he recovers healthy. He did promise. I showed you guys that he's going to be running out and what was the word? High stepping on the field with the team ahead of week 1 game against TCU. So excited to see his recovery. But obviously, even though Coach Prime wasn't there, Pac-12 Media Day still happened. Believe it or not, there's still conference that people want to learn about despite Coach Prime not being there. Charles Kelly, Shedeur Sanders, and Travis Hunter all representing Colorado. They all did great. People loved. I think it's interesting because Colorado is probably the most well-documented team in college football. They have well-off media. Deion Sanders Jr. is out there dropping content. I don't know if it's daily, but it probably is daily. Pretty frequently, though. He's dropping amazing behind-the-scenes content that no other program really gets. We don't really have access to any other program like we do Colorado. But I felt like it was still the first time for a lot of people to learn who Travis Hunter, Shedeur Sanders were. And so they did really well. They were asked a lot of interesting, weird, important questions. So yeah. But one of the questions I was asked was to Shedeur Sanders and how he deals with the pressure. And so I wrote about it, and I want you guys to see his reaction. So this is him in an interview with ESPN. Let's break it down right here.
Of the top 5-6 quarterbacks.
Well, I'm a Sanders. I don't feel pressure. That's the thing. It's in my blood. Like I don't get nervous. I don't get none of that. Especially when you prepare, you got the coaches and you got the staff and the players around you. Like, there's no real pressure. You just fighting yourself and your own thoughts. And that's the thing. I don't fear no names or no nothing like that.
Elite level of the top 5-6 quarterbacks.
I mean, it doesn't get much more confident than that. You'd love to see that. Shedeur Sanders talking about how he doesn't feel pressure. And honestly, I think if he admits to feeling pressure, it doesn't matter. I think there's obviously going to be some pressure. There's going to be a lot of pressure on him. Outside of Caleb Williams, Quinn Ewers, Bo Nix, Michael Penix, who else? I'm trying to think. Whoever plays quarterback at Ohio State, whoever plays at Alabama. Shedeur Sanders feels a lot of pressure. There's going to be a lot of pressure on him. I'm not saying he feels it. There's going to be a lot of pressure. People want to see him succeed. People also want to see him fail. Let's be honest. I think the biggest criticism of Shedeur, and I've said it myself, and it's a fair criticism until we see him perform against these teams, is that he obviously was electric, demolished the FCS level. But does that translate to the Pac-12? Does that translate to the Power 5? Obviously, the Pac-12 defenses aren't amazing, but they're still better than what he's faced. And so I think a lot of people are curious to see how he adapts, how he deals with his father being his coach, which he's been doing so for the past, let's see, I know he coached him in high school, probably 4 to 5 years, 6 years, maybe. I don't know when Coach Prime started coaching in high school, but I know for sure the last couple of years he was the coordinator. So for at least 4 years, his dad's been coaching him. I'm sure he's coached him his whole life. So we'll just call it an even 20 or however old Shedeur is, and even 20 years that he's been coached up by Coach Prime. And so I think now people are at the sorry, my knuckle just absolutely popped. That hurt. I think now people are looking to kind of see what kind of quarterback he is. Is he a confident guy? Is he going to make the good throws? Is he going to have a big arm? And so I think a lot of people are curious to see what to make of Shedeur. And honestly, I'm curious as well. I think he has a lot of potential. He has a huge arm. He has accuracy. Does he have the ability to fight through adversity? This could be his biggest test yet at the college level behind this offensive line and with a team that we don't know how good they're going to be. And so he's going to have to be the leader. He's going to have to stay positive at all times. And he's going to have to keep the locker room upbeat if they struggle, because obviously if the quarterback's down, then everybody's down. So yeah, I really liked his approach though. He's a Sanders, doesn't feel pressure. I think he knows that there's expectations and pressure. Whether he actually feels it or not, I guess only he knows. That's between him and the man up there. But I like his confidence. He exudes confidence. He makes the program, everybody else confident in him. And that's what Colorado needs right now. They need something to be confident about. They need something to believe in. And they have that in Shedeur Sanders. And realistically, the only time we'll be able to see him, whether he feels the pressure or not, is when he takes the field. So I think he's building his own confidence in a way. I think he wants people to know that he's done this before, been there, done that. I think it's a good way to kind of eliminate the, oh, can he do this discussion? Because he's like, I don't care. It's like, I'm Sanders. I'm gonna do me. I'm gonna do what I got to do. It's a great approach to have, and I think it's gonna really pay off for Colorado in the upcoming season. When we come back, we're gonna be talking about the latest in Pac-12 expansion. Is it happening? Is it not? Do people want it to happen? When we come back. Welcome back. We're talking about Pac-12 expansion. As you guys know, let me give you a little detail. UCLA, USC, off to the Big Ten, okay? The Pac-12 is in prime position to get a new media rights deal and maybe expand over the past year before anyone else because they had an expiring media rights deal. Fast forward to a few weeks, maybe a month or so later, The Big 12 expands, adds BYU, Cincinnati. Oops, hit my microphone. BYU, Cincinnati, UCF, and Houston. So they expand and they got a deal before the Pac-12. The Pac-12 has now been on the defense for about a year because the Big 12 is coming for Colorado, which seen a lot of reports saying that Colorado is going to the Big 12. I don't think it's going to happen. I promise you that I would tell you if I did. I don't think it's going to happen. We haven't seen the Regents meeting being scheduled. People reporting that's going to happen within the next couple of days. Haven't seen the Regents meeting being scheduled. That's the important thing. Colorado has to do everything publicly, so we would know something is up. Unless their last Regents meeting like 2 weeks ago was for this, but everybody pledged loyalty to the Pac-12 at Pac-12 Media Day. And again, and I'll say this until I'm blue in the face, why would any program leave the Pac-12 after waiting an entire year and not see the Pac-12 media rights deal? That would be like literally the most moronic thing to do. Also, the Big 12 is not nearly as big of a brand or as popular as a brand as they come off. Right now, they're the hot conference in college football because of all they've been able to do, but they're just a bunch of middle of the pack programs. They're a bunch of what was it called? I think they're called truck stop programs or something like that. Obviously that's disrespectful, but that's what people call them. I think after Texas and Oklahoma leaves, the biggest brand in the Big 12 is probably TCU. And outside of this past year, TCU, they've been very good at football at times. They've had down years, but they don't have a single brand alone in where it's like, oh, that's like nothing in the conference compares to Texas or Oklahoma. Just like I won't say the Pac-12 has a brand that compares to USC or UCLA, but they have Oregon, they have Washington, they have Utah, they have Colorado now, who's probably one of the bigger brands in college football. The Big 12 doesn't have that. They have quantity. I don't know if they have quality. Anyway, so people have been talking about Colorado to the Big 12, so I had to address that. But anyway, so the Pac-12 has been trying to figure out a way to get their media rights deal, which there was surprise, quote unquote surprise. If you can't see me, I'm doing the air quotes in the air because people were like, oh, they're going to have it by the Pac-12 Media Day and they're going to announce it there. No. One, that's the stupidest thing ever. Two, it was reported a week prior that they would not do that. And then when it didn't happen, people were like, oh my goodness, it didn't happen. Yeah, why would it? It's bad enough that they hadn't had it done before. They're going to announce it on a day where they're supposed to be talking about football. Like, obviously they talked about it because people were curious, but the Pac-12 is weeks away from arguably what will be their best college football season ever. And people want to talk about this? Not a chance. Not a freaking chance. Here's the thing. Gets me all riled up about it. We knew that the deal wasn't going to come. People overreacted when the deal didn't come on the day we already knew it didn't come. And so now we're talking about it like, oh no, the Pac-12 is in trouble. The Pac-12, September, Labor Day. That's when the deal is probably going to come or be announced. But either way, I saw an interesting report by The Athletic and we thought for the longest time, it was like, okay, USC and UCLA are out. Who's in? Automatically San Diego State. They were like first one in. They're just waiting their turn. A San Diego State player literally said at Mountain West Media Day that they were told they were going to the Pac-12. So San Diego State literally thinks they're a Pac-12 member. Obviously, they're not yet, and I think they will be. And then SMU's next. So it's those two and maybe a couple others like Colorado State, Boise State, UNLV have all been, those three teams are kind of been discussed. But we all just assumed San Diego State, SMU, that's going to happen one way or another. It's inevitable, as the late, great Thanos once said. But we learned in a report by The Athletic that not everybody in the conference is on board with expansion. Believe it or not, I know. I was shocked too. Some conference members are not a fan of the expansion move because, one, that's more revenue to split. Two, the college football playoff is about to expand in the next few years, and it's going to go to a method where the conference champion gets the automatic bid to the playoff. they don't want more competition. And one of those programs to stand out and apparently say that they didn't want to expand was Oregon. So I thought that was surprising. I still think that the expansion is going to happen eventually. Realistically, I think the Pac-12 needs some more markets. I think they need some more blood in there. So yeah, but I did think it was interesting that Oregon, of all teams, who I feel like Oregon's headed in a great direction. So what's a little more competition going to do? I don't know why they're scared. The Pac-12 is also thinking of moving from a 9-game to an 8-game conference schedule, which would make it easier for their teams to not beat up on each other because then they could avoid at least one team per year. So I thought that was interesting. I'll keep you guys updated like I do every single day. This has been another great episode of Locked On Buffs. I appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day. Make sure to tune in tomorrow. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow. I appreciate you guys. You guys have a great Monday. Have a great start to your week.